Hello everyone, this is James Shore with another test-driven JavaScript video. I'm recording this on March 13th, 2013, picking up right where we left off in the last episode. What we're working on is we are doing cleanup and design work and improving abstractions in our WeWikiPaint client-side code. And in the last episode, we were working on moving some of our common event handling code into DOM element. And I really like the way this is going. We didn't get as far on in the last episode as I was hoping, but you can already start to see how it's really, really cleaning up our event handlers so that you're going to be able to read them and basically say, oh, well, on mouse down, we do this, on mouse move, we do this, and on mouse leave, we do that. I think it's going to be really strong. In the last episode, we got on touch start a little bit cleaned up, and now I would like to continue to do the same thing with on touch move. I want to get it set up so that it passes the offset through, not just the event. And then what we have left to do, I think, is to take care of this prevent default. Basically, we have to be able to pass our function through directly into the event handler and get the information we expect so that we can have it basically be a one-liner. And that's what I'm trying to figure out how to do. The remaining function we need to clean up, we need to have it pass through the relative offset is on touch move. I think that would be pretty straightforward. Last time we had some trouble because we were taking too big of a step. So this time I'm going to take it really gradually, and I think it'll go smoothly as a result. Our tests are passing. I'm going to have this start to pass through relative offset. And I'll default that to being undefined, just for the purposes of refactoring. That should still work. It does. Good. Now we need to pull this information over. We need to bring over the this that was called from our outer function, because inner functions don't inherit this from the outer function. Events, I believe, pass event as the this. I'm not sure. I never use it. But whatever it is, it's the wrong this. So we save it off to a variable. And now we should be able to pass it through here. Pass our offset through to our callback here. Yes. And that means that this should be the correct relative offset now. Is it? Yes, it is. Excellent. Which means I don't think we need any of this code. No. Which means that we can have on touch move take continue drag directly, and that will just work. Yes. Excellent. Excellent. Now we've got all of our common offset handling code factored into DOM element. And in fact, there's probably an opportunity to factor out this duplication as well, but I'm not going to do that just yet. But let me make a note here. All right, we are getting somewhere. It is coming along. I think this code is going to be awesome when we're done with it. This is a bit of a tricky one, though. What we need to do is say, I think what I'd like to do is have an on one touch start and on multi-touch start. Yeah, that would be interesting. What if we rename this to on one touch start? And also added a on multi-touch start that just said end drag. That would be kind of cool. Let's try that. Now that doesn't actually have to do anything yet. No. But what we can do is we can have that code basically be exactly the same as this, only now this will be incorporated. This being the code that determines how many touches we've had. And we'll say if it equals 1, then we return. Or rather, if it doesn't equal 1, then we'll do our callback. And I'm not going to do any of the offset stuff, just going to call back directly. And then over here, we'll do something really similar, except that we'll say if it doesn't equal 1, then we'll just return. Will that work? Yes. Yes, it does. Awesome. Now, I think what that means is that this is irrelevant. Cool. 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 Let's put this down here, just make it more clear. That leaves us with the only thing we need to deal with is prevent default. We need a way to handle prevent default and also on select start. What I'm thinking here is twofold. One, I'd like to get rid of the fact that we've got multiple lines of code and thus can't just do a single line really readable on this, do that. The other thing I'm thinking about is that our abstraction is leaking. It's exposing the underlying event object, and it's actually not even the real underlying object, it's the jQuery event. And so our abstraction isn't a good solid abstraction, and so I don't want to expose the event. So I'm trying to think of what's a clean way of preventing default. And I kind of want to be able to say something like this. I want to be able to say DOM element prevent default DOM element dot on mouse down, or maybe DOM element dot on mouse down DOM element dot prevent default. I don't know. One of those two is kind of what I'm thinking. Problem is I'm not exactly sure how to code that. I think this one here would be my preference. What would that take for us to code? I think it would require, I don't know if there's any way of doing that that doesn't cause our abstraction to leak. You know, I'm just not seeing a clean solution for that right now. So as always, when I don't see a clean solution, I'm going to punt. That is, I'm not going to solve it right now. I'm just going to let it sit, and some other day when I'm feeling smarter, or if you guys think of something, then we'll just do it that way. But what I can do is I can say DOM element dot on mouse down start drag like that, and that should work. Yes. And similarly here, DOM element dot on one touch start drag. Yes. And then this can all just become a method called prevent defaults. Now we're looking pretty clean. It's not quite done yet, but we're getting really close. Let's go ahead and check this in. And one thing we still have to do is this on select start. Let's go ahead and make ourselves a DOM element dot on select start. That should work. We're not using it yet. Good. Now we can clean this up. Yep, don't need this anymore, which means we don't need this, but we can do that. Yep. And let's go ahead and move this up to here. Actually, no, I think that fits better where it was. And let's make a note that this is IE8 only. Actually, better than that, let's rename it to be onSelectStart IE8 only. That way, it's impossible to miss. Good. Now let's look at this code. I am thinking that this is pretty clean. Still some improvement to be made, but I really love this part where it's how we handle all the mouse stuff and how we handle all the touch stuff. It's way more obvious than it was before. It wasn't bad before, but now it's, as Alistair Coburn likes to say, it is screechingly obvious, and I love that. Let's wrap up. We've still got some time left in the episode. You'll notice that there's now a lot of duplication in our DOM element code now, and namely how we're constantly doing the relative offset stuff over and over again. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's have this just, really what we want to do is generate a function. We're always doing the same thing over again. So what I want to say is something like element mouse down, mouse handler, or convert. Basically, it's doing the relative offset. So I want to write some sort of function to do that. Let me think about this for a moment. I'll be back in a moment. Yeah, I think we can just factor this function out, and we'll factor it into a function that creates the function. And let's just use our extract function. I don't know what to call it. Let's just call it foo for now. It looks like that got a little confused. Is that going to work? Yes, good. And we can just call this. Good. And we should be able to do the exact same thing in all of our mouse event handlers. So let's call it a mouse, generate mouse, let's call it mouse event handler function, for lack of a better name. It's not a wonderful name, but if you think of a better one, please let me know. And I bet we can do the exact same thing. Well, I was going to say I bet we can do the exact same thing for touch, but it's not as clear and obvious that we can. Well, this code is kind of similar. You know what? This is on one touch move. And this should be on, well, no, I think we want that to be on touch end, just general touch end. Yeah, I think we have to think of the multi-touch as actually being a different type of event than one touch. And if we do that, does that still work? Yes. Then if we do that, we can factor out that function. We can call this we can call it the one touch event handler function. Definitely a bug in WebStorm's refactoring to support there. Let's see, this needs to be there. All right. And the same here. Awesome. Awesome. Let's move this down to here. And let's move this down to here. That should all still work. It does. Good. Let's go ahead and get rid of this unneeded self. And here. Excellent. Okay. This is what I'm talking about. When I say that creating our own abstraction gives us a place to put stuff, this is what I'm talking about. This code is more complex now, but this is much simpler, and everything else that wants to use DOM element in the future will be much similar, if there is ever anything, and I don't know that there will be. So that's all the time we have for this episode. Next time we will pick up, I think we'll take another pass through DOM element, make sure it's nice and clean, and we still need to bring in some of our client test duplicated code. But we are making really good progress here. So thanks for watching, everybody. I will catch you next time.